Welcome to today's deep dive. Imagine for a second that you're driving down a dirt road after 30 years away, bracing yourself to find your childhood home turned into a parking lot.
Right, just expecting it to be completely gone.
Exactly. But you pull up, and your old house is just sitting there, perfectly frozen in time.
Yeah, so today we're unpacking a really personal essay from an author who experienced exactly that after living overseas for decades.
And we're combining that essay with some ancient poetry, specifically Psalms 117 and 118, to figure out why we crave permanence so badly.
Right, and where we can actually find it when everything else around us is constantly changing.
The author's essay is fascinating because it highlights just how fragile our physical foundations really are. I mean, they originally had to leave that house because of some intense pain, right?
Yeah, the father suddenly lost his job, and total financial ruin forced the family out. So coming back decades later, driving up with their own kids, and finding that structure completely intact.
It's like stumbling upon a perfectly preserved time capsule.
Exactly. It provided this profound, though temporary, shock to the system.
Because, we all secretly want a physical place to anchor us, right?
Yeah.
Just to prove that at least something in our lives is permanent. It's like we're looking for a geographic center of gravity.
So we don't just float off when life gets volatile. And that geographic center of gravity is exactly what the authors of our ancient sources were grappling with.
But they weren't talking about a house at the end of a dirt road.
No, they point to a totally different kind of structural foundation. In just a few lines of Psalms 117 and 118, the Hebrew word olam, which means forever, shows up 5 times.
5 times in just a few verses.
Yeah, it acts like this rhythmic bass line in a song, keeping the melody from spinning out of control. And it's attached to 2 really specific Hebrew concepts: emet, meaning faithfulness, and hesist, meaning steadfast love.
Wait, so how does a word like faithfulness actually function as a foundation? Because, a feeling of love doesn't exactly put a roof over your head.
Well, because emet isn't just an emotion here. It's really about structural integrity.
Oh, like a load-bearing wall.
Yes, exactly. You might not actively see it, but it dictates whether the roof collapses when a storm hits. The text intentionally shifts the focus away from temporary physical security,
which can always be repossessed or destroyed.
Right. It shifts it onto an architecture of resilience based on God's unchanging character.
I have to push back a little bit here, though.
Sure, go ahead.
It's incredibly easy for us to sit here and talk about load-bearing walls and eternal anchors from a distance. But if you just lost your job and your home, like the father in our source essay,
right,
telling someone about ancient Hebrew words isn't going to pay their rent. How do these texts actually help someone standing in the dirt?
Well, it helps because it changes the lens through which you view that dirt. For the Israelites singing these psalms, this wasn't just abstract theology.
Because they lived it.
They did. After the Passover in Egypt, they spent 40 years wandering in the wilderness. They were essentially nomads with 0 physical home.
Wow.
And during those 4 decades, they complained, they rebelled, they had nothing material to rely on. But God's emet and hesed remained totally intact.
It never wavered.
Never.
Yeah.
The core question these sources pose to you listening right now is this: when life gets incredibly difficult, are you interpreting God's character through your current circumstances?
Or are you interpreting your circumstances through his character?
Exactly.
If your circumstances dictate your view of reality, then every lost job or broken relationship will just completely unmoor you.
That's exactly the point. If you anchor your identity to something that can burn down, be repossessed, or just age out, you will always live in this underlying state of vulnerability. The Israelites used these songs to remind themselves that their current wilderness wasn't the end of the story.
That completely changes the math on nostalgia. It means we can appreciate that 50-year-old family home or a beautiful memory without being devastated when it inevitably gets sold or torn down.
Yeah, because the stability comes from the fact that the emet and hesed are eternal.
We don't have to sorrowfully cling to the temporary when we are held by an unchanging promise. This actually points us to a really profound conclusion in Psalm 118, verses 5 and 6.
Right, where the psalmist is in severe distress.
Yeah, they cry out and then make this massive declaration: "The Lord is on my side, I will not fear. What can man do to me?"
Because if your security relies on human institutions or physical walls, people can do a whole lot to you. They can evict you, fire you,
ruin you financially.
Exactly. But if the load-bearing wall of your life is eternal, steadfast love, that fear simply dissolves.
So as you go about your day, ponder this. If your ultimate anchor is an eternal, steadfast love, rather than a temporary house at the end of a dirt road. How does that completely redefine what it means to be set free from the fear of other people?
That's a great question to sit with.
Because that physical childhood home might not always be standing, but maybe the anchor you were looking for was never a building to begin with.